Mr. Karl, who's going to tell us why Layer 2 is becoming a big trend in crypto. Take it away, Karl.
Thank you so much. So,
yes, give a round of applause.
yeah, sorry there for the little delay, but let's get started. So, hi everyone. My name is Karl. I'm a lead developer at ZKSwap Europe. And today I'm going to talk to you about one of the larger trends in the whole blockchain space, which is Layer 2s. So for those of you who might not be familiar with what Layer 2s actually are, it's an application layer that sits on top of a Layer 1 chain, like Ethereum. And it does this to enable a much higher scalability. And this higher scalability is actually achieved by moving the transactions off of the main Layer 1 onto a Layer 2 infrastructure. And this results in a higher throughput, faster transactions, and lower fees. So all the different Layer 2 solutions, they mainly aim to help solve the scalability part of the blockchain trilemma. It's just that they do this in slightly different ways. And one of the most widely, or two of the most widely used approaches are zero-knowledge rollups and optimistic rollups. I'll expand more on those later. And the reason why Layer 2s have actually become such a big trend is the scalability problems that we're seeing. It's impacting everyone. The end users are getting a really poor experience with these slow transactions and the very high fees at peak times. So, and it also limits all the developers to be, their ability to build something that is aiming for a widespread adoption. So let's explore the Layer 2 projects and their value propositions. Ethereum is probably one of the best examples of a Layer 1 ecosystem that's been seeing an exponential growth in Layer 2 activity. And as more and more people enter the ecosystem, we have all this surge in DeFi, GameFi, NFTs. The Ethereum network has become increasingly congested. So coupled with the rise of ETH prices, gas fees have become incredibly costly, and we're effectively pricing out new users. Simple transactions like a token swap, an NFT purchase can now cost up to hundreds of dollars in fees during peak times. So Layer 1 network is actually not longer sustainable to handle this scale. So this is where Layer 2 comes in. So over the past year, we've seen a massive growth over here Layer 2, different Layer 2 solutions. We got projects like Arbitrum, Optimism. They're gaining adoption because, yeah, we want these fast transactions and low fees, right? So our DEX, which I'm working for, ZKSwap, actually enables seamless cross-chain transactions with extremely low fees. We've also seen a lot of traction to our platform. So in summary, Layer 2 solutions are solving a fundamental problem that Layer 1 cannot. But it's important to point out this isn't just limited to Ethereum. It actually applies to a lot of other Layer 1 chains. Let's see here. Got one ahead. So Layer 2s have actually become the foundational piece to the broader blockchain and Web3 ecosystem. The demand is on the rise, and perhaps one of the better indicators for that is if you look at total value locked, abbreviated TVL. And so TVL reflects how much value of assets that are locked into and deployed into an ecosystem. So a growing Layer 2 TVL is a sign that more users are moving their assets to Layer 2. And if you take Ethereum as an example, we've seen Layer 2 TVL reaching now nearly $7 billion. And we've seen an increase of over 900% in just the recent 90 days. So Ethereum largest Layer 2 chain, Arbitum, they have $2.6 billion in TVL. Like I mentioned, the one I'm working for, ZKSwap, we also now currently have over $200 million in total value locked. So while we're still very much anticipating the release of Ethereum 2.0, where it's going to migrate to proof of stake, and it does have pieces that addresses the scalability parts. But this is actually on the last phases of the Ethereum 2.0 rollout. So this is still years away. And so it's still an interesting prospect to look into these Layer 2 solutions. And to mention, at a recent conference, Shanghai International Blockchain Week, Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin confirmed that Layer 2 actually is the future, or, and I quote, "the future of blockchain scaling and the safe way to scale Ethereum while preserving decentralization that is so core to the blockchain." So with Layer 2s being on the rise, they're not all the same or designed the same. So most Layer 2 protocols, they utilize one of two different rollup scaling strategies. So there's ZK Rollups, which is what ZKSwap obviously uses, and optimistic rollups. They got similar goals. They want to address the scalability, right? Without compromising the security. They just do it slightly different. So first, just a quick primer on rollups. What is it? So a rollup is an off-chain aggregation of multiple transactions inside of a smart contract. So by bundling these up, we're reducing fees, we're alleviating the congestion, and increasing the throughput of the blockchain. So these rollup can take Ethereum from the current roughly 15 transactions per second up to the thousands of transactions per second. So then you have these transactions. They're promised to settle within some point of time in the future. So all the data that is published on chain can then be validated by these different actors. So if you compare ZK rollup to optimistic rollups, ZK is actually a much more complex technology. Involves quite advanced mathematics. But from a high level, a ZK Rollup is a Layer 2 scaling solution that all funds are locked up in a smart contract on the main chain, and all the computations are done and stored off-chain. And so it's actually ideal for token transfers and other specialized applications. So optimistic rollups, on the other hand, they have an easier way of having other dApps migrate to them. It's easier to have them be EVM compatible, but things are happening in the ZK rollup world too. I'll get to that. So without going too much into the details, we do believe that ZK rollups offers the highest level of scalability and security. And I mean, this is crucial for anything that has with asset transfers to do. So it's actually a sentiment also echoed by Vitalik himself. He recently stated that in the long term, ZK rollups, which sure are more complex, but they do have a strong security, and they're likely to be preferred. So after briefly touching on Layer 2 and the ZK rollup technology, let's take a look at the emerging use cases. So ZKSwap, like I mentioned, a Layer 2 DEX that employs ZK rollups to enable these seamless token swaps across multiple chains. We have Ethereum, Binance as of now, with upcoming OK chain and Huobi Eco chain. So by using a ZK rollup architecture, our DEX bundles hundreds of token swaps into a single transaction to get these increased efficiencies. So on ZKSwap, the user transactions are verified and stored off-chain and on Layer 2 until someone requests to withdraw these assets. So liquidity providers and users, they only pay the gas fees when they deposit or withdraw tokens from the Layer 1. So this allows us to have, well, little to no gas fees for the swaps on Layer 2, because the transactions are also happening in near real time. And the fees, like I mentioned, are only paid at layer 1 withdrawal. So if we then take a look at what the transactions that are made on ZKSwap, they can still rely on the same strong consensus security guarantees of layer 1, while still maintaining the privacy of zero-knowledge proofs and requiring no gas fees. So the solution is actually ideal for users or institutions that are looking to perform high-volume trades across a wide range of assets. And we believe that the asset security is just as important as scalability. So our platform has been fully audited by a couple of firms like ABDK, Certic, and Slowmist. So with the recent release of version 2 of ZKSwap, there's been a couple of new features. I'll just go through a few briefly. So there's been an improvement of shortening the withdrawal time. By the way, that's also something that the optimistic rollups are struggling with. Can sometimes take up to a week to withdraw your assets. Not the case for the ZK rollups. So we also introduced unlimited token listing. So this means that any user can list any ERC20 token pair. So in short, we're aiming to make an interesting alternative in the DeFi space, making it more accessible to all the users. So some short mentions about the roadmap and what's coming next. So beyond the DEX features that we talked about, we're also about to introduce NFT features, also have them be or improve the cross-chain interoperability. There's, as you see, Solana, for instance, on the horizon. So layer 2s, in summary, they can be used to scale pretty much any type of applications, be it a DEX, NFT marketplace, or even gaming. And they're becoming more prevalent for good reasons. So the scalability challenges for DEXs is even more prominent when you try to support cross-chains. When you're transferring assets between chains, that could incur very high gas fees. So that's something that ZKSwap is aiming to tackle as well. So last but not least, ZKSwap will be working more on these features, trying to create these solutions. And one of the more important that I wanted to mention is that we're working on making an EVM-compatible virtual machine to make it easier for other dApps to migrate to the ecosystem. So there's many more details that is yet to be unveiled. And the upgraded version of ZKSwap is set to be an innovative alternative to the existing DeFi platforms. And with that, I would like to thank you all for coming and listening to this talk today. Please feel free to reach out with your phones. I forgot to switch slides. There's the QR code I was talking about. It takes you to the Discord to get in contact with the team. And that would be all. Thank you very much, everyone.